52 years, the family of Stanley Anita Moore, or Stanita, are looking for answers still about her murder. Stanita was strangled to death in December of 1971, and families still don't know who is responsible. But it could be too late. Stanita is one case of dozens of women killed in the 70s that remain unsolved to this day. It was an era of detectives working without gloves and sometimes haphazard record keeping and evidence storage. So joining us this morning is 9 Wants to Know reporter Kevin Vaughn, who has covered this case for a very long time. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning.
A big part of this is kind of the loss of documents.
That's right, and we've seen this in other cases where one document can't be found or another, but in this case, the entire case file is missing. Denver police acknowledged that to us this week. They told the family this some years ago and reiterated it again this week, and they don't know what happened to it. At one point, someone in the family was told there was a fire, but the police department says they don't know if it was that, if it was water damage, or if a detective checked it out, never returned it, or possibly it's misfiled and it's there somewhere. They haven't located it, but that case file is vital. It's going to have, you know, the original witness statements. It's going to have all kinds of information from that day back then, and right now they can't find it.
So that combined with how many years has gone by since, what is it going to take for this to not be unsolved anymore?
Well, I mean, it would take one of two things. Somebody coming forward that didn't talk to the police back then, or that talked to them back then and didn't tell them everything they knew, and telling that story now, and possibly a confession. I mean, they talk about this in these old cases a lot. Mm-hmm. There have been cases where people have come forward and confessed much later in life. Those are sort of the two hopes right now. I know the police department is working right now to try to sort of reconstruct what they can. Mm-hmm. The coroner's office does have some records. At this point, though, it doesn't look like the evidence that was gathered in the case has been found. So this is a tough one and a frustrating one for this family.
Yeah. So talk about maybe why this case didn't get a lot of exposure, not a lot of media attention. I mean, it really wasn't talked about too much.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to look back 50 years and talk, for example, about how the media operated. Mm-hmm. This murder was written about in both the Denver Post and the Rocky Mountain News, the two main newspapers at the time. You know, page 34 in one paper, page 36 in the other. At the same time, not all murders made it into the newspaper. Then just like even today, we don't do stories about every murder that happened. I mean, we have, you know, sadly, 150 or more a year in the metro area. We don't do a story about every single one. But there is a feeling for this family that because Stanita Moore was black, that she may not have gotten the attention from investigators that they think she should have gotten. That's a common feeling among families that have an unsolved murder, that they feel like their case didn't get the attention it deserved. But that is sort of a feeling that the family has come to over the years, that she was maybe not considered as important as some other victims.
It's probably really important now for any witnesses back then, anyone who knows something, even if they talk to police at that point, the fact that there's no file, they kind of need to come forward again so they can rebuild it.
That's right, and you know, 50 years, some of the people that might have had information back then are probably no longer living. You know, one of Stanita's brothers that, you know, had some tense dealings with the police over his anger about this is no longer living. So, you know, the clock is ticking, sadly, on these old cases.
And I was going to say, this is one of many from kind of this time that were just left unsolved.
Yeah, if you look at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation's cold case website and just put in any year in the 1970s, you're going to see dozens of cases like this. And it's sad. You know, these families have the grief of the loss, but they also have this unresolved situation where they know that their loved one's killer has not been brought to justice.
Right. That's how I felt about Beth Miller when we interviewed her sister. I mean, her life completely changed because of the disappearance of her sister. Her life was completely altered, and obviously she's still gripped by it.
That's true. Bruce Isaacson, the longtime cold case investigator that we talked to in the story, said the other day that he doesn't like to use the word closure because he said, I've dealt with enough families, and for them it's never closed.
Yeah. Kevin, thank you so much for your reporting. This was a good piece, and we're going to air it again coming up in the 8 o'clock.
All right, thank you.